All right, it is the 15th day of March 2020 and the second day since the government confirmed the first case of the coronavirus in the country. And so a lot has happened since then, and we have all the information for you. But first, the highlights. Tonight, government traces individuals who came into contact with Kenya's coronavirus index patient.
The Ministry of Health has traced 22 close contacts who have been quarantined at KNH isolation units at Mbagathi. Specimens from these contacts are currently undergoing testing at KEMRI laboratories.
Members of the public warned against spreading falsehoods.
The fake and alarming videos have been forwarded to the DCI for investigation, arrest and prosecution of such individuals.
Also tonight, public health officials turn attention to the epicenter of the virus in Kenya.
Procedurally, when we have a case of this nature, we make sure that all our neighbors have to be disinfected so that we make sure that there are no organisms surviving which could be as a cause of disease transmission.
Rongai residents welcome the gesture, but with more concerns and demands.
Simame waendelee kila siku, hata naomba katika Masai Lodge wapite kila nyumba.
Plus, the challenge of mental health illness among young adults.
My first reaction was like, oh goodness, I thought this happens to others.
A look at the cases, causes, symptoms, and the capacity and funding gaps.
Even the little that is set aside for mental health is actually not entirely used on mental health, but it is used in other more appealing conditions.
And the towering symbol of peace among the Pokot and Ilchamus communities, the dedicated hand looking after it.
As much as we are highlighting on the elephant, we also need to highlight on the giraffe because we will lose them in the near future.
Women in Conservation, a special edition of Women in Power.
This is Weekend Edition with Zainab Ismail.
Thank you so much for joining us, and our sign language interpreter this evening is Flora Atieno. The government has identified and quarantined individuals who are in close contact with the country's confirmed coronavirus patient. They're being closely monitored at the Mbagathi isolation facility, even as the government reports that the patient is in stable condition. Another group of individuals who are in the same flight as the patient and have been urged to self-quarantine for 14 days. Malmiendo begins our broadcast.
The government says the country remains on high alert following the confirmation of the first case on Thursday. The National Emergency Response Committee on Coronavirus Preparedness and Response says it has traced dozens of individuals believed to have come into contact with the patient during the period before confirmation of the case.
Indeed, of the 22 that are in quarantine, we are taking samples and we're in the process of running those samples. And immediately we get the results, we shall then communicate this with the families first, the individuals, and then of course with the public. There are other 23 close contacts who are in the flight that were with this patient. We've notified the different persons. These persons consist of different nationalities who all had different destinations, but we've been able to get the manifests and have communicated with them and have given the proper protocols of how self-quarantine will be done. These people are not within the country.
Samples collected from the individuals are being tested at the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, with the government placing health kits in special facilities in Nairobi, Kisumu and Mombasa that have trained health practitioners. The government maintains that it is doing everything it can to keep the coronavirus at bay.
Our preparedness is at the highest level possible. However, we cannot get to 100% preparedness if we do not involve the local people. And therefore, to get there, every Kenyan must be involved in as far as prevention is concerned.
The spreading of fake news and falsehoods is emerging as a major challenge for the government as it attempts to control communication on the disease to alleviate panic and anxiety. Kenyans are now being warned against consuming and spreading false information about the pandemic.
We wish to inform the public not to consume information that has not come from official government communication channels. And these are at MOH Kenya and at spokesperson GOK. The fake and alarming videos have been forwarded to the DCI for investigations, arrest and prosecution of such individuals.
The prevention of coronavirus has come to the doorstep of each and every Kenyan, and now the government is urging for the practice of high-level hygiene. And if in case there is a question about the same, a toll-free number has since been set, 719 or hashtag 719. Mel Miendo, NTV at the Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi.
All right, and the government has now turned attention to the epicenter of the coronavirus in Kenya. Officials from the Department of Public Health have been disinfecting the apartment block that housed the country's first patient. The residents are asking for more from the government going forward. But as Leila Mohammed reports, the government is insisting that there is no need to panic.
Officers from the Department of Public Health were at the Rima House apartments in Ongata Rongai Saturday afternoon. They were here to disinfect the apartment block where Kenya's first patient of COVID-19 upon arrival in the country earlier in the month settled.
Procedurally, when we have a case of this nature, we make sure that all our neighbors have to be disinfected so that we make sure that there are no organisms surviving which could be as a cause of disease transmission.
For the people here, the visit comes as a relief, but while the apartment block remains closed to all not close to the families living here, the residents are wondering what next for them.
Kuna wale watu walikuwa kwa hiyo nyumba pamoja na huyo mwathiriwa. Na kama ndio anasema hata yeye aliingia na haku akionyesha dalili. Huenda hata saa hii kusiwe kuna hizo dalili zimejitokeza. Vile wanasema mambo ya quarantine, nafikiri wakizingatia hiyo itatusaidia.
We have a team here in Kajiado County. I think where you found us there, that's a team of health personnel who are being trained and have been given the correct gadgets. So if need be, they'll come here and screen everybody. But as far as we are concerned now, there's no cause for alarm.
Even as residents in the neighborhood raise their concerns, the government is now saying that it is not going to contain the residents of Rima House apartments, even as national officials now say that disinfection will be important to stop the spread.
Wasisimame waendelee kila siku, hata naomba katika Masai Lodge wapite kila nyumba.
The government is now urging the residents here to be extra cautious.
If the helmet used by the border borders was contaminated by another person who had COVID-19, that could be a high risk protective gear. So we are emphasizing, if you have to use your border or preferred border, make sure you should also make sure you have your mouth mask.
The bus that authorities believe ferried the victim to Ongata Rongai has been fumigated as well. It has been off the road for a few hours, they say. Ole KSS Hospital has been identified as the isolation and treatment center for any emerging cases in Kajiado North of Kajiado County. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Well, it is the weekend and many Kenyans have been and will be congregating in various places of worship. While the government has allowed worshippers to proceed, but with certain standard measures put in place, many denominations are now coming up with extra measures to curb an outbreak and further spread of the coronavirus. Rose Wangui has been monitoring the announcements from the pulpit.
On Friday, the government suspended all the public gatherings in the country after the first case of coronavirus in Kenya was confirmed. But churches will continue to operate as usual as long as they comply with basic prevention measures. The Lavington Seventh-day Adventist Elders Council has advised its members to attend church, but on voluntary basis. Members are free to worship from their homes as the service will be streamed online. Church lunch, Sunday club and choir practices have been suspended until further notice. The New Life SDA Church in Nairobi, which draws dozens of worshippers for services every Saturday, sanitization points have been set up for members to clean their hands as they enter the church.
So those worship meetings that were to be led by international guests should be replaced by local speakers or local guests.
Yesterday, we circulated a lot of messages on our social media platforms, and the members were well informed even before coming to the service today. And today, basically, we held a special service just to worship God and pray that He saves our country from this issue.
The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops has also released a raft of measures to be followed during the Holy Mass. The sign of peace will be omitted. Congregants have been advised to wave to one another during the exchange of peace. Holy water at the entrance has been removed, and the Holy Communion will be by hand and not tongue. Priests are to observe high levels of hygiene by washing hands before and after the Holy Communion or anointing the sick to avoid any infection. They also say strong measures should be followed, especially before carrying out any assistance on the altar by the servers and any extraordinary minister who comes in contact with the liturgical items or Eucharistic species. The Church has also requested those who exhibit flu-like symptoms to avoid going to Mass. Muslim leaders are expected to meet on Monday to come up with measures on how to contain the spread of the virus in mosques, especially during times of prayer.
If you're told to wash your hands with the soap. If you're told to keep distance from people, keep distance from people. And this is the guidelines of Rasulullah SAW. He taught us that whenever you hear that there is a plague somewhere, don't go.
These measures will continue until the threat of the virus is abated. According to WHO, the pandemic global death toll has reached 5,000, while the global number of cases has surpassed to 132,000. Rozongoi, NTV.
All right, thanks, Rose. Now, most public transport operators across the country are yet to provide their clients with hand sanitizers, as had been directed by the Ministry of Transport. Commuters have now been forced to observe caution as others resort to carrying their own sanitizers. In Mombasa, passengers using ferry services say their lives are at risk as the management has yet to provide the hand cleaning gel. Silas Apollo has more on the risk posed by shared public spaces.
In the streets of Nairobi, it is business as usual as residents went on with the activities a day after the government confirmed the first case of coronavirus in the country. Curiously though, it is the casualness with which some heeded the directive on personal hygiene as announced by the government. Most matatus ushered in passengers without offering them hand sanitizers, contrary to instructions by Transport CS James Masharia on Friday. At the Kencom bus station, all that passengers were subjected to was the routine security checks, oblivious of the risk they were being exposed to.
I've not really come across any vehicle that uses a sanitizer. And I've also been looking for one of the sanitizers in the chemist here in the city. I've not got any.
At the Likoni ferry crossing in Mombasa, the case is the same. Commuters say the management has yet to make available sanitizers, among other measures. This is despite the fact that the ferry transports hundreds of thousands of passengers every day.
Hapa tunaguzana, hapa watu wako congested. Alafu kule kwa waiting pale ngojea ferry hapa ndio tukavuke. Hapo watu wamejaa wanafinyana. Nakwambia hata mtu mmoja akiwa nayo, my friend, Likoni yote nakwambia.
China kumbuke ni nchi ambayo imeendelea. Je, sisi ambao kisa kimoja hapo jana kintuendesha mbio nchi nzima. Je, ikisema afika hapa feri, mikakati bado haijawekwa. Tunataka serikali ije wazi na shirika la feri watuambie ni mikakati gani ambayo wameweka.
Serikali ni lazima iwe macho. Hiyo ni mikakati. Na hakikishe wanaweka watu wa hospitali kila kitu wale madaktari wawe karibu.
The Mombasa County government says it has put in place the necessary measures to promote personal hygiene, including points where commuters and residents can wash their hands.
Hand washing provisions at both sides of the ferry, which will be enforced by the Inspectorate and NYS and other security agencies to ensure that there are facilities for hand washing on both sides of the ferries.
Businesses that attract masses like nightclubs are already counting losses as most Kenyans opt to stay away from crowded places. Most club owners say that unlike other weekends, they are peak days for the business. The announcement on coronavirus has made matters worse. Silas Apollo, NTV.
All right, Silas. And now let's have a look at how various counties are putting in place measures to curb an outbreak and spread of the coronavirus.
The county government of Mombasa has banned from operating for the next 30 days to contain a potential outbreak and spread of the coronavirus. Normal bars and restaurants will, however, operate until 11 p.m. The county has also suspended prison visits for the next 1 month. Hospital visits have also been restricted to 2 immediate family members per patient. Inter-school functions, all public gatherings and meeting events, all inter-agency, inter-institution and inter-religious meetings and gatherings have also been banned. In Bungoma, Governor Wycliffe Wangamati wants the county mapped among the coronavirus high-risk counties due to the fact that it hosts a point of entry at the border of Kenya and Uganda. An isolation ward has been set up at Webuye Sub-County Hospital for the management of any case that may be reported. A selected number of staff are undergoing training by the national government on how best to manage the pandemic. The county government has procured personal protective equipment for health practitioners. In Nyandarua County, persons seeking services at JM Karaoke Memorial and other hospitals across will have to be screened for the virus before visitation of patients in the wards, following restrictions implemented to avert further spread of the virus. Nyandarua's County Emergency Response Technical Committee says the hospital's isolation wards were well prepared to screen, diagnose and quarantine any cases of COVID-19. In Uasin Gishu County, members of the public are being cautioned against embracing each other as well as shaking of hands. Matatu owners have also been urged to ensure they provide sanitizers as was ordered by the government on Friday. The residents, on the other hand, want the county government to provide water and soap at the bus stops as a safety measure. Various stakeholders from different industries have been urged to uphold high levels of hygiene. Helen Aura, NTV.
All right, and we'll continue bringing you all the updates and information on the coronavirus in the country, in the continent and globally as well. Well, away from that, there is some relief for Kenyans in these tough economic times after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority revised wholesale and retail prices for petroleum products downwards for the next 1 month. The maximum allowed pump prices of super petrol decreases by 2 shillings per litre, diesel by 2 shillings and 80 cents, and kerosene by 7 shillings and 23 cents. The price cuts are consequential of reduced average landed importation costs that saw prices of super petrol decrease by 3.44%, diesel by 5.27%, and kerosene by 14.96% per cubic meter from January's average cost of importation. The regulator also says the effect of the recent crash in crude oil prices will be reflected in subsequent pump price reviews. All right, let's now turn attention to our social issue this Saturday, and that is mental health among young adults. While depression is the most common mental illness, there are many types of mental disorders that affect everyday human life and often go unnoticed. One of them is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, which can cause above normal levels of hyperactive and impulsive behavior. Bridget Singana visited a recovery center in Nakuru offering mental care services. Take a look.
Linda Wambura has been living with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, for 7 years now. As a counselor, she says her diagnosis came as a shock.
My first reaction was like, oh goodness, I thought this happens to others and not to me. I had normalized it. I knew I'm that problematic child. I'm that child who doesn't agree with what everyone else agrees with. But I didn't know that it was actually a problem that was bigger than just a few actions here and there.
The 30-year-old says she struggled with school, a major challenge for people with ADHD.
I did 8 years in Campo, and that's a big one for ADHDs. ADHDs are either dropouts, they either suspension, expulsion, dropping out, or just not finishing school.
It is because of the high prevalence of mental illness among young adults that Iregi Mwenje, also an ADHD patient, started the Psychiatric Disability Organization Kenya in Nakuru. The facility offers mental health care, especially for the poor. 60% of the clients here suffer from depression and anxiety. Bipolar, schizophrenia, and post-traumatic stress disorder are also common.
We still want to see more men coming here, more men calling us, more men seeking help, not just to us, but also talking to their colleagues, their friends, and their family members. Because most of the challenges that we get at the beginning, at the early stages, the mild stages, are things that you should sort out within your community.
Kenya faces a capacity challenge in dealing with mental health illness, with only 62 psychiatrists in the country. Then there is the low sector funding.
Even the little that is set aside for mental health is actually not entirely used on mental health, but it is used in other more appealing conditions. There are diseases that are seen to be more appealing or more sexy, or that get the attention and the funding. But mental health is none of that.
Ukivunjika mkono, nitaona umevunjika mkono, lakini any brain disorder, any mental illness, anywhere imevunjika huko ndani hatutawahi ona.
The Mental Health Amendment Bill 2018 is currently at the National Assembly awaiting approval. It seeks to revise the approach taken to treat mental illness in the country by advocating for community-based solutions. While society has come to the realization that it is time to have sensible conversations around mental health, stigma and the lack of resources, especially for the low-income earners in the society, are one of the impediments that make people shy away from the whole topic in its entirety. Bridget, Ghana, NTV, Nakuru County.
All right, thanks, Bridget. Now, shocking incidents ranging from suicide, murder and homicides involving young adults have been on the rise. And although not all these cases are attributed to mental-related disorders, a good number have been confirmed to result from this. In fact, half of all mental health conditions in adulthood emerge by the age of 14 and 3/4 by 24. This is according to the World Health Organization. And the WHO says that Kenya ranks 6th in Africa with the most cases of mental health, with an estimated 6 million people being affected and suffering from common mental illnesses. Depression is the most common mental disorder worldwide, and Kenya ranks 6th in Africa with 1.9 million cases. Now let's take a look at globally. What does it say? So around 450 million people currently suffer from such conditions, placing mental disorders among the leading causes of ill health and disability worldwide. WHO says 1 in every 4 people in the world will be affected by a mental or neurological disorder at some point in their lives. So this is pretty serious. 4 in 5 people who commit suicide are depressed at the time of death. And even more shocking is the fact that suicide has been singled out as the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds. And listen to this. Men are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than women. This is also according to the World Health Organization. And so depression remains the most common mental illness and disorder. However, there are other disorders like bipolar disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, that is ADHD or ADHS, eating disorder and anxiety, which are also very common among young adults. Well, away from that, key signs and symptoms of the depression include loss of interest in activities, indecisiveness, restlessness, inability to carry out daily duties, loss of energy, sleeping problems, hopelessness, suicidal tendencies, and even a feeling of worthlessness at some point. And so there are many reasons attributed to the rising cases of depression and mental health issues among young people. They include financial crisis, experiencing conflict, disaster, violence, abuse, social media and cyberbullying, which, by the way, is a very serious issue since the advent of social media. But in November 2019, President Uhuru Kenyatta directed the Ministry of Health to come up with a task force to assess the status of mental health in the country. The task force was also to come up with policies to address the various issues raised in their report. But that process is yet to be completed, and this conversation is one that we'll always be taking a look at and continuing to forge forward to see how we can be able to help, especially the young people in the country. We're going to take a very short break here on NTV Weekend Edition, but still ahead, a look at the country's rotten political culture and terrible manners. Stay with us.
Oya ni aje, mimi ndo Jonte Fresh. Mimi ndio nimetambulika hii Gikomba yote sekta ya manguo. Jumio transform nguo ordinary za mtush zenye ziuka mna hii harufu ya Bale into the freshest Iggy Kosi yote. Siri ni hii Real mpya ya pink. Na kushow mtush zinang'ara kung'ara kushinda kamera. So clean, so fresh. Ma customer wanaisana na hii story. Ninatumia aerial touch of down mpya tu.
iAbiri is a solution that gives you the power to book a ticket to your destination at the right time and the right price. With a choice of over 35 bus companies, iAbiri gives you the power of choice to easily and conveniently book your ticket to all major destinations. Whether you're traveling for a social function, business, work, or a romantic getaway, iAbiri will get you there. Download the app or log on to www.iabiri.com or call us on 0709 215 215 to book your ticket now. iAbiri, your smart travel partner.
Are we not invited? We have gifts. Malaria.
Mommy, best!
Run.
Oh, die.
Party.
Compared to an ordinary spray, Mortein Doom Power Guard kills disease-causing pests instantly. Mortein Doom Power Guard.
In endometriosis, we have this tissue growing outside of this cavity.
In between this surgery, that's when they found out I had endometriosis.
We know that the longer you have the condition, the higher the chance of developing infertility.
I first had to lose my both fallopian tubes and my left ovary. Endometriosis went with all of them.
Telling me period pain is normal is then saying that those who have painless periods are abnormal.
Someone asked me in church, why do I pray and I can't have a kid?
Welcome home to Amani Rich, the place of peace. Invest in Amani Rich, the place of peace. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching NTV Weekend Edition. Now, political activities and gatherings in the country have been cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic. And this is perhaps the time to call out some bad manners. The Kenyan case is one in which politics thrives in divide and rule tactics, tribal bigotry, violence and plunder of resources. And we, the electorate, are not spared of blame either. Vincent Odor looks at what some people have termed as a rotten political culture in Kenya.
Politics is about interests, and those interests often fall short of the public good. Whoever said those words must have had Kenya in mind.
We will not be distracted in terms, these are basically just self-serving people looking for self and so on. No.
More than 2 years to the next general election, and politics in Kenya is in top gear. The powers that be have already decided who will be and who will not be what, as if that decision solely rests on them, and as if their one vote each has more weight than yours. Just listen to this.
We enjoy 80% of the support of Kenyans. Yes. Wakimwaga ugali, tunamwaga kitoweo.
Uhuru hata wachia mwizi hii kiti. Mumenielewa?
Nobody can stop reggae.
Now that is complete hijack of your free will. Welcome to Kenya, the land of bad manners in politics.
It becomes our culture, which I would even call subculture, because it's a stupid way of doing things.
That the country is experiencing tough economic times with unemployment, a high inflation rate, job layoffs, rising poverty levels, has been drowned by the banging sound of reggae music, with all the niceties and spoils of power to boot.
With all those vehicles, all those V8 parked in a venue of a BBI rally, with the choppers flying over. You know, you need a big field to park those choppers. And in that region where you are holding that BBI rally, more than 80% of the people are poor. Businesses have collapsed in this country. SME, which is more than 75% of what we call business in this country, they have all collapsed. You see? Now, when you are doing that, people are looking and wondering, these people, are they taking us for fools?
Divide and rule politics now openly exalted.
You see, they capitalize and weaponize the tribe so that they get away with many things because of tribe. This is what politicians are not saying. Unless you control it, people will cheer you because of the tradition and the subculture, because of the tribal nature of our politics. They will cheer you. They are even willing to die for you. But when they go back home and there's nothing to eat, they will eat you.
But the electorate is not spared either. The culture of handouts largely informing favor at the ballot, only to castigate their own choices not long after.
Tulikuchakua uende urepresent wakaji wa Baringo.
There are those who argue that Kenya's political culture is the oil that lubricates the wheels of power and the glue that holds together the system. Vincent Odur, NTV, Nairobi.
All right, thanks, Vincent. Now, the housing market in Kenya's urban centers is on a slowdown. New apartments cannot find tenants. Landlords are slashing rent to retain tenants, and auctioneers are busy as borrowers default on mortgages. What happened to the housing market and what lies ahead? Join us this Sunday at 9 p.m. for our special report, The Housing Correction, with Julian Amboko.
The city of Nairobi, a concrete jungle. Whether in the upmarket or mid to low tier markets, housing was everyone's dream. We all wanted a piece of the pie, and then it began to unravel.
Welcome to today's auction sale.
How did we get here?
If you buy a house, it will always appreciate. That's nonsense according to standard economics.
Why people invest in property? Sometimes they never even look at the yield.
How bad is the situation?
For 4 consecutive quarters, we've seen negative prices.
Is there any way out of this mess?
It's a good time to start talking about repurposing some of these buildings.
All right, the housing correction tomorrow evening at 9 p.m. with Julian Amboko. You do not want to miss that. Well, time for another short breather, but still ahead. The towering symbol of peace among the Pokot and El Chamos communities and the dedicated hand looking after it. Women in Conservation, a special edition of Women in Power.
Dettol's main objective is to help children protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold?
No!
They are spread through germs on your hands. Your hands collect germs that causes diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands regularly with Dettol soap that gives the best germ protection ever against many illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath, bath, bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
New Blue Band peanut butter. Made with 100% pure peanuts. And a good source of omega-6. Grow healthy and happy kids with new Blue Band peanut butter.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
One, two, three, get it. Where the B-boys at? Where the hip hop at? Where the B-boys at? I am pleased by just the simple little things of life. And I promise if you take the time, you won't be looking for too long before you find this little secret of mine.
I am Carol and I've invested in the Alma by Saiton located in Loaka. Investing in the Alma was the best investment decision I made. I was one of the area investors and I have enjoyed up to 55% of the capital appreciation. If you are looking to earn above average returns, invest sharp in the Alma Phase 2 today.
Phase 1 is 100% sold. Call to reserve your unit in Phase 2 today.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. The conflict between the Pokot and Ilchamus over pasture and water was quelled in the late 2000 with a symbol of peace that bound them together, standing 6 meters tall. The Rothschild giraffe is classified as an endangered species, and these two communities emerged from conflict with a common resolve to protect it. Rebecca Chebet has been at the forefront in this initiative, which has not only yielded peace and harmony, but also given life to a robust tourism economy. She narrated her journey to Gladys Gashanja in this week's special edition of Women in Power, focusing on women in conservation.
The fresh waters of Lake Baringo. It is one of the only 2 freshwater lakes in the Rift Valley region, the other being Lake Naivasha. The lake is both a source of water for domestic and animal consumption, as well as irrigation and fishing for the residents living on its shores. But they also play a critical role in giving life to tourism and conservation in this region. Ruko Community Conservancy on the eastern shores of Lake Baringo is one such entity that was formed in 2008 under the Northern Rangeland Trust to find lasting peace between the then warring El Chamus and Pokot communities.
My name is Rebecca Chabet Kochulem, the former manager at Ruko Conservancy from the year 2009 up to 2018, and currently the County Conservancies Director and under NRT, working to support the two conservancies in Baringo that we support currently, Ruko and Kaptuya Conservancy.
Ruko Community Conservancy prides itself in finding peace with its unity symbol being the Rothschild giraffe, locally known as the Baringo giraffe.
The island is the safe haven that we introduced the giraffe in the year 2011. So the name came about to be known as Baringo giraffe when from its endemicity it was found here. So later on the scientific name, the Rothschild giraffe, was used to describe the species. But in Kenya you call them the Baringo giraffe because they were only found in Baringo. In Kenya we are lucky to host the three species, that is the reticulate, the Maasai giraffe and the Rothschild giraffe. So the only difference that can make you see that these are different species is the white markers, the socks.
The Baringo giraffe is classified as endangered, with less than 1,000 of them left in the world, heightening the sense of urgency for the communities here to conserve their greatest source of tourism revenue.
So people need to understand that as much as we are highlighting on the elephant, we also need to highlight on the giraffe because we will lose them in the near future.
The Baringo giraffe was reintroduced back in the Conservancy in 2011. The 8 giraffes, 2 males and 6 females, were translocated from Soisambu in Nakuru County following an approval from the Kenya Wildlife Service. In the 9 years of calling this island home, 2 giraffes have succumbed due to various factors, including lack of enough forage due to the size of the island reducing as the lake waters continue to rise.
And the community has now dedicated a space where they are going to reintroduce back to the natural wild. So it means that they are now going into a good space where they can be able to have enough forage, enough home range where they can walk, because a giraffe can cover up to 40 kilometers in a day, meaning they will be able to now get used to the environment, and the community can be able to have access.
Ruko Community Conservancy epitomizes the amalgamation of conservancy and peace. The likes of Rebecca have walked this path for many years, but one that she learned to tread carefully.
This community was emerging from the conflict between the two communities. This was about the resources, the water, the pasture. Another issue was I was a woman. So sometimes when you go to these community meetings, you have to be so keen that you are not against their traditions. So you have to make sure that you are respecting them, you are respecting their decisions, and in a way you also trying to maneuver and become relevant to them. And the good thing is that being a woman, you are perceived to be a neutral party in this space, because for them, the Morans are the ones who go to the war. I don't go to the war. So for the Chamus community and the Pokot community, they all saw me as their daughter. Even before we had the giraffe back here, in their logo, in the Conservancy logo, they put the Rothschild giraffe there as a symbol of peace, with the women, the 2 women, milking it, such that this was a source of hope. It was something that was going to transform the community.
Being the first lady to have held the reins of leadership at the Conservancy, whose host communities are heavily patriarchal, Rebecca leaves behind an undisputed legacy.
I was coming in as a manager. Most of the board members were mostly men. And deciding to give me that opportunity, it was a risk for them because they were not so sure that a lady can lead this.
Hii Conservancy imesaidia tena sana kwa bursaries. Wanapatia kutoka wakati tu mtoto anaenda secondary, college, university, kuna to rate percentage fulani kama mtu anaweza kuwa mgonjwa. tunaweza peleka mtu kwa hii boti yetu au gari, either for both communities, tunapeleka hospitali. Ingine tena kama imesindikana sana kwa bili ya hospitali, kwa sababu anatoa kitu kidogo.
When I took over the NRT role as the County Conservancies Director, when they were recruiting the new manager, the board didn't have a problem at all recruiting anybody. Because they said, we've seen you did it. If you have another lady coming on board, we know that she's sure going to do that.
For Women in Power, my name is Gladys Gashanja.
All right, thank you so much, Gladys. And of course, Rebecca is doing a fantastic job and quite an inspiration there. Let's take a break. When we come back, we still have a lot more we've lined up for you.
To the out-of-framers, the turtleneckers, the fringe growers, you don't need to hide anymore. Try Dettol Even Tone. It cleans and helps to reduce the appearance of blemishes caused by oil, dirt and germs, giving your skin a healthy feel. Join the millions that have switched to Dettol Even Tone, now also in pomegranate fragrance, a healthier skin for an even better you. Brought to you by the Kenya Consortium of Medical and Health Professionals. Dettol, be 100% sure. Do your gums hurt? Yeah. Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile? All that in one toothpaste? Yes, try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums. Ah, Colgate Herbal. Let's go. Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally.
Molfix breathable surface developed with Airsoft technology is very soft and provides the best Molfix skincare.
I've found the best diaper for my baby's sensitive skin.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
What would you like to become when you grow up?
As a refugee, you have to improve yourself first.
A doctor. Clap for the doctor.
The most important thing that have come to me in the camp is education.
We are focusing on empowering them with the knowledge.
When I don't school, how will I get a job? There are a lot of gaps where we actually need more funding so that the books, the school uniform, the ratio of students per classroom or the ratio of students per teacher can be improved.
Thank you for staying with us. And now to other news making headlines in the country. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has blasted the Kenya Tea Development Authority, accusing it of bringing the tea sector down by diverting from its core business. Munya says KTDA has been importing tea from Vietnam, which does not add value to the local farmer. And workers at Metro Plastic Factory in Lungalunga Industrial Area in Nairobi have cheated death after the facility caught fire as the workers were on a night shift. Makadara Deputy County Commissioner Fred Ndunga has ordered the arrest of the factory's manager for placing the workers at risk by locking them inside the factory and going home with the keys. Now, the late NTV video editor Raphael Nzioki has been laid to rest at his family home in Shimba Hills in Kwale County. Raphael was killed in a hit-and-run accident in Nairobi a week ago.
A somber mood engulfed the homestead of NTV's Raphael Nzioki as family, friends and colleagues from Nation Media Group gathered at his home in Kwale County for the final rites. Raphael has been eulogized as a young, energetic, jovial fellow who carried his duties diligently.
There's a lot we can say about him, the jovial guy, the ever-laughing person who really made a dull moment very nice for all of us. And as you can see, this team was working in different departments, which means Raphael really touched different departments and people in different ways and capacities.
To imagine that you are no more Raphael does not make any sense to us. You are a very good person, God-fearing, honest, loving, kind, friendly, hardworking, and a very happy person.
The 26-year-old was the firstborn in a family of 4. He's left behind a 4-year-old baby girl. The late Raphael met his death in the wee hours of Saturday last week when he was knocked down by a matatu driving on the wrong side as he crossed the road on Kenyatta Avenue and Kimathi Street Junction. Nayoma Sampao, NTV.
And rest in peace, Raphael. Your memories will continue to remain etched with everyone you touched here at the Nation Media Group. Let's take a break. We'll be back with the sporting action.
Discover the all-new Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Lotion, specially formulated with Nivea's Deep Moisture Serum and Africa's natural cocoa for 48-hour deep moisture. Glowing, radiant skin with Nourishing Cocoa Lotion from Nivea. Get 48-hour deep moisture from the new range of Nivea body lotions.
So we feel forever be real, together stay free whatever ends. No, we can't stop. We wanna taste the feeling. Nothing can ever bring us down. Taste the feeling.
In endometriosis, we have this tissue growing outside of this cavity.
In between this surgery, that's when they found out I had endometriosis.
We know that the longer you have the condition, the higher the chance of developing infertility.
I first had to lose my both fallopian tubes and my left ovary. Endometriosis went with all of them.
Telling me period pain is normal is then saying that those who have painless periods are abnormal.
Someone asked me in church, why do I pray and I can't have a kid?
Welcome home to Amani Rich, the place of peace. Invest in Amani Rich, the place of peace. Call us today on 0790 300 300 or visit www.optivan.co.ke.
NTV Sport in association with Mozart Bet. SMS NTV to 29990.
Let's have a look at the day's sports news. Welcome, my name is Brian Otual. The sports industry is the hardest hit by the coronavirus pandemic, with postponement and cancellation the order of the day in different sports. On our weekly sports show, Top Sport, we engage different sports stakeholders on the effect of coronavirus on sports.
Players and organizers alike are suffering the brunt of the coronavirus pandemic, with major sporting events being cancelled as a precaution.
Ni fursa kubwa kwa timu za Afrika kujitayarisha kwa mechi ambazo zinakuja. Inamaanisha sasa mna muda mrefu wa kuprepare. Kama ni Kenya inajitayarisha kucheza na Komoro, tuna muda mrefu. Kocha ana muda wa kuangalia wachezaji na muda wa kuwapanga vizuri, kuwatayarisha.
Hakuna mtu ambaye anataka kugusana na vile virusi vya corona. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri wamefanya. Wacha tuone ikifika mwisho wa mwezi kama mambo itakuwa yamebadilika.
With major events still lined up, including the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games, sports people have their work cut out to stay in shape.
Preparation is over a period of time, and you prepare at the end towards the means. Like you're preparing to ensure that you're at your peak at a certain time. So it becomes very, very difficult mentally. So I think that is where athletes now are caught up, and the management and coaches are caught up. You cannot stop training.
This year, Kenya had sought to use sports to boost tourism numbers with Magical Kenya Open, the World Rally Championship Safari Rally, the Athletics Continental Tour, as well as the World Athletics Under-20 Championships lined up. With coronavirus-induced cancellations, the sports economy will take a hit.
So you can imagine the investment that partners have put in, the kind of preparations that teams that have already qualified are spending on, the resources that are being put in there. So the impact, and I think the whole world is actually waiting to see this being the epic sporting extravaganza, what is going to happen.
And as sports grinds to a halt, all that remains is a wait-and-see game for the sports lovers for everything to return to normal, hopefully soon.
And Nairobi City Stars boosted their hopes of promotion to the Kenyan Premier League with a 1-0 win over Nairobi Steamer at the Camp Toyoyo ground. Sane Brima scored the only goal in the match in the second half in a match played behind closed doors. City Stars now have 64 points while Bidco are second with 54 points. Elsewhere, Coast Steamer were victorious over the Administration Police with a 3-1 win at Mbaraki. On Sunday, Murang'a Seal will play APS Bomet. Vihiga United will host Shabana in Mumias, while Modern Coast Rangers welcome Kenya Police to Serani, Mombasa. The matches will be played behind closed doors. And Gor Mahia, KCB and defending champions Bandari refused to honor their respective matches in the round of 16 of the FKF Betway Cup as the coronavirus fallout continues. Gor was to take on Posta Rangers and KCB were to face Wazito FC in Afra Stadium in Nakuru, while Bandari was set to play Sofapaka at the Mbaraki Stadium. The match between Fortune Sacco and Bidco United set for Kirinyaga Stadium also did not happen. It is unclear if the Sunday games, that is Kisumu All-Stars hosting Keroka Technical in Kisumu, Kariobangi Sharks playing Talanta, FC Leopards taking on Ushuru, and Ulinzi Stars hosting Migori Youth at the Afra Stadium will be played.
We hope it will be a walkover because you never know. The referee will submit his report and the match commissioner, then it'll be up to FKF and KPL to make their decision. Obviously, we've done everything right. We came here yesterday morning. We've paid the expense of hotel and all the meals and everything. You know, we brought 30 people here. So it's an expense for us. You know, so we hope we get something for it. In an ideal world, we'd like to win the game on the field in over 90 minutes. But if that's not possible, we'll take the walkover.
Everybody was ready for this cup game. The sponsor was ready. Posta Rangers was ready. And the referees were ready. All the match officials were ready. But unfortunately, big club in Kenya, Gor Mahia, with a very big name, they have failed to come for this match. I think one is the government has made measures, and also worldwide, because you find that most of the nations, they're saying that the games can be played, yeah, but behind closed doors. So that one is good measure.
And the Football Kenya Federation county elections concluded across 9 counties in the country, with immediate Nairobi West Secretary Caleb Malwei voted the region's new chairman. This is the ruling that will determine the next step for Kenyan football is set for Tuesday. Ida Waringa reports.
Voters and candidates gathered for repeat Football Kenya Federation county elections, hoping that second time would be the charm. Caleb Malwei won the Nairobi West chairman's post, beating challenger Charles Njoroge by 44 to 17 votes. But with Tuesday's Sports Dispute Tribunal decider, the champagne is on ice.
Kesi ambayo inafaa kuamuliwa on Tuesday na tuko sawa, tuna imani kwamba itakuwa sawa ili pia tusirudie hii mambo tunafanya.
Charles Kaindi whitewashed Martin Karanja by 49 votes to win the Nairobi West secretary post, while Jospat Karori garnered 43 votes to beat Meshak Okangi's 16 for treasurer. Still in Nairobi, and Maureen Obonyo's 49 votes saw her win the women's representative poll, compared to Susan Mudongoi's 12, as Hannington Kimathi beat Moses Were to the youth representative position. In select results from across the county, Luther's Mokua is the Nyamira chair, Abdullahi Salat is the Garissa head, and Hamisi Mwakoja will lead Kwale County branch.
Even as the FKF Electoral Board plans for the national polls on March 27th, focus does shift to the Sports Dispute Tribunal ruling on March 17th that will determine whether the process will go on as planned or start from scratch again. Ida Warenga, NTV.
Rift Valley Prison's volleyball team has been officially launched in Eldoret, with sports stakeholders from the region calling on the government to consider forming sports academies in the country as a way of promoting young talents and creating employment.
It's now my pleasure and humble duty to declare the Rift Valley volleyball team officially launched.
Rift Valley Prisons joins Mombasa Prisons, Kakamega Prisons and Nairobi Prisons in the Kenya Volleyball Federation National League to bring the number of prisons team to 4.
We have a challenge ahead. We've been given a hand of support. Now what's remaining is for the team to perform.
The team, which will be based at the Eldoret main prison, is comprised of the prison staff, county government of Uasin Gishu staff and the local community players.
We would also want the team to grow from the small unit that it is into the near future to become a community-based institution.
Rift Valley Prison said that they are now ready to face the bigwigs in the National Volleyball League.
Kuna timu 13 ambaye zinashiriki katika ligi kuu ya Kenya National Volleyball League, na tungependa mwisho wa ligi ikiisha tujipate tuseme 7 bora. Hiyo itakuwa mbaya kwetu, ama pia tupatikane kwa 5 bora, ama pia tucheze playoffs, kwani hakuna chenye hakitawezekana.
After a lukewarm performance in the first leg held in Nyeri, the team is aiming for an improvement in the second leg of the National League. Meanwhile, sports stakeholders from the region have challenged the government regarding the standards of sports in the country.
Volleyball is an indoor game. So every time we are playing outside, we are playing indoor. So in Kenya, when we come here, we are just playing outside. So there is many disadvantages like sun, wind, rain sometimes. So it is a big difference.
Reporting for NTV Sports from Eldoret, I'm Steve Keter.
Well, that's all from our sports desk, and from the desk we urge you to play more, to keep fit, so that you keep away the coronavirus as well. That's all. Have a lovely night. My name is Brian Otual. Back to you, Zainab.
NTV Sport in association with Mozart Bet. SMS NTV to 29990.
Mozart Refund, lose one game, get your cash back. Make a decision. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, thank you so much, Brian Otual there. That definitely brings us to the end of our bulletin this hour. Many thanks for watching. Remember, we'll continue bringing you all the information and latest updates on the coronavirus in the country and globally as well. And remember, keep safe, keep clean. Hygiene is very important. And if you have a hand sanitizer, keep sanitizing yourself. Thank you so much for watching once again. Our sign language interpreter this evening was Flora Atieno, and from the entire team that made this bulletin possible, my name is Zainab Ismail. Thank you for watching. Have yourself a fantastic afternoon. Good evening.
This is NTV.